Hello, everyone, and welcome back to video 4 in the Gilman International Scholarship. This one is planning for your study abroad trip. So let's dig into it. This time I'm going to let you guys see my script here because there's a lot of things here that I want you guys to see, and if you want to screen cap this, you're welcome to. Um, so first of all, I just want you guys to think about your trip well in advance. So as you're preparing to do, as you're preparing to go on this trip, there's a lot of things that you're going to want to bring. There's a lot of things you're going to have to leave out. You're going to need to have your finances in order. You're going to have some money on you. So we're going to talk about all of that and more as we go through this. And so let's get right into it. All right. So first of all, there's several things to consider when planning your study abroad trip. So we're going to talk about all the do's and don'ts and what you should pack, all that stuff, okay? So first of all, I want you to think about where you're going. Number 2 is think about, studying the language and history, okay? It's always a good idea to study like some of the common words and phrases that are going to help you get around and getting to know like the culture of the people, historical figures, national holidays, if there's any concerts going on, any places that are popular or world famous, things like that, because that's going to help you when you're planning your trip, your downtime, because you're going to have some downtime. And also, last, just thinking about what businesses might be closed while you're there in the event of a national holiday. Thinking about how those national holidays will impact your trip. For us, there was this one Japanese restaurant we wanted to go to, but because it was their summertime, he was gone. The whole business was shut down, and they were gone for the summer. So unfortunately, we didn't get to go. We didn't know that until we were standing in front of the door. So something to think about. All right, so let's talk about 2 ways that you go about your travels. You can wing it, right? This is what most people do, including what I did mistakenly, stupidly. Shouldn't have done that. It could be nice to be spontaneous, right, when you go somewhere, but you're really missing out on a lot when you don't have a plan. If you're just trying to go with the flow and you don't have things in your mind that you want to see. So it's helpful to really get a lay of the land and figure out what monuments, museums, or parks or historical places that you want to visit. It's important to think about that and look into those and see how you can fit those in your itinerary, okay? So, yeah, don't wing it. Make a plan, because it sucks when you wing it and you don't know what to do. Make a plan, okay? So for me, I met somebody there who had a plan. He actually was a very experienced traveler, and he had all these different places he wanted to visit. And so fortunately, I was able to join him in his plan. And then as I was going through that, I realized, yeah, I need to study a little bit more on what I want to do here, because I don't want to do all these things he wants to do. So I started to look around and see, well, what do I want to see in Barcelona? And that helped me a lot to then really enjoy my trip a little bit more, right? So making that time, because like I mentioned earlier, there will be downtime between classes. So figure out what landmarks you'd want to see in advance and look at the distance of those places from where you're going to be staying, because that's going to help you determine, how you're going to get there. And then, like I said earlier, checking opening and closing times for places you want to visit, as well as the local holidays, because there's places that you want to visit and they might be closed because of that holiday. Also, think about buying your tickets in advance. Sometimes there was some people who wanted to travel to Paris, but they didn't buy their train tickets on time, and the tickets were really expensive by the time they were ready to travel, so they just couldn't go. So think about that. If you do want to go to another country nearby, how much is that gonna, buy those tickets? Then prepare for how long it's gonna be, because you will likely have some downtime. For me, when we had class Monday through Thursday, but it was only in the morning into the early afternoon. It was like from 10:30 to 1:30. So once we were done with our classes, the rest of the day was ours half the time. There was times where they would plan trips in the afternoon after class, but there was many days where we didn't have anything. So you really had to decide, well, this is what I'm going to do during this trip. So make sure that you consider what you want to do during your off time, and usually wherever you're staying is going to give you a travel itinerary. So make sure that you try to get that as early as you can, just to get a general lay of what your time is going to look like, and then you can talk about. Then you could look at what trips you want to book for nearby. I personally didn't want to do that because I was studying genetics, and I knew if I'm studying genetics, it's going to take a lot of my time. I actually didn't know how much time I was going to have. So that's why I kind of took the approach of like, I don't know if I'm going to have much time to travel. So I'm just going to wait till like see what I have. But in retrospect, I would have done a little bit more research into the local things and then say, okay, these are things I know I want to do. So once I get there, I'll have a better lay of what I'm going to do. So just think about that. I'm sometimes a little bit of an airhead with these sorts of things. So, you know, don't be like me. All right. Um, so yeah, talking about that, talking about saving time to be spontaneous as well. Yeah, it's good to be spontaneous, to have that time. So I encourage you to go ahead and do save time to explore. Try not to book every single hour because you're just going to stress yourself out. But at the same time, have a plan. All right. So next, let's talk about finances. First of all, make sure you save money in advance that you're just going to designate for groceries, ticket fees, souvenirs that you want, unexpected expenses, because there will be things that come up. You're like, oh yeah, I can't afford to do that. So just make sure that you save plenty of money, or you get funding for that, because it's important that you have some spending money while you're there. There's going to be a lot of times where you're going to have to buy your own food, so you have to make sure you budget for that. Do I have food? Do I have some food money for groceries, things like that? Um, where I stayed, it was like an apartment, so we had shared refrigerators that we can buy stuff and keep our refrigerators in. We had microwave, stove, so we can cook. That was really helpful, and I encourage you to do that. That you make sure that you have money, that you buy groceries. Don't eat out every time. Even if you buy simple stuff so that you can make yourself sandwiches, buy chips, buy water bottles, things like that. You're going to save a lot of money by doing that, because there'll be many times where you're going to this museum, or you're going to this monument, or you're going to this natural park, or whatever it is, and you're going to want to have some things that you can snack on to just tide you over until you can get to a restaurant or something like that, because it's going to come up. So just be prepared. You'll be surprised how hungry you get when you're traveling, because you're moving around a lot. There's a lot of stuff to do, so you're going to be spending a lot of energy. So I just encourage you, make sure you do groceries, make sure you have money for groceries, you buy food so that you can make your own stuff. All right. So next, I just want to talk about, when it comes to money, do not take out cash in USD. Do not bring US dollars with you. Most places take digital payment, and when you deal with conversion, you'll have to then convert your cash to the local currency, and then you lose money on top of that. It's better to just take out money when you get there. I made the mistake of taking cash with me that I had to have converted, and it was such a waste because I lost probably $50 just doing it that way. It's not worth it. Just pull cash from a local ATM when you get there. For me, when I went to Spain, euros were about 120% higher value than the dollar. So imagine that. It's like a dollar is like 80% of 1 euro. It's terrible. So just make sure that you just pull cash there. You're still going to lose money, but you lose less money when you do it that way. And then just try to pay with like have some cash on you for small things, like if you want to buy an ice cream, or you want to buy like a small souvenir, little things. It's nice to have cash for. If you're getting a drink at a bar or something like that, it's nice to have cash for those sorts of things, because maybe you don't want to pull out your card. But most of the time, they take actually tap to pay. So you can just do tap to pay everywhere. That's what I did on my phone. I just tap, boop, and it was easy for me. So and then in while on that topic, it'll give you an option when you tap. Do you want to take it out in USD or do you want to take it out in Euro? Always select Euro or whatever the local currency is of the country you're visiting. Don't take it out in USD because also you lose money again on the conversion. And my bank actually helped with the conversion a little bit, and they would refund me portions of the dollar in the conversion process. So just think about that. Which bank you're using. Usually they'll work with you because I use my just traditional debit account, and I was able to pay for everything that way. Some people took out credit cards to do that. I think some of the students, their parent use their parents' card in order to do that. So just think about, talk to your parents, if this applies to you, on what they suggest that you do, and if they can help you with the financing or help you with, the banking aspect of things. It's always helpful to talk to someone who knows what they're doing in this respect. And then, if I think of any other tips, I'll post them in the description of the video, or I'll post them in the comments section. And then if you have any questions, just ask me in the comments. It's fine. I wouldn't mind answering. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about packing. So packing is really important. When I went to Spain, it lasted a month, and but I had actually gone to Kenya the previous year, through the church, and so I was actually in Kenya for about a month as well, or about 3 weeks. And what was helped me in preparing for this trip is that I knew that I don't use that much clothes. Excuse me. I don't use that much clothes. So what you end up realizing is that you end up kind of wearing the same things every other day and just interchanging shirts and shorts or shirts and pants. I highly encourage you to not pack a ton of stuff. There are certain things that you have to take, right? But when it comes to clothes, this is where a lot of people get tripped up. Do not take a ton of clothes. All right. So, but let's go through the list here because I want to just stay on topic. So, I want you to, first of all, make a note on your phone of all the travel essentials that you're going to need, right? A month before your trip, keep a note of those things every day. And it's simple those things that you use every day, right? And it's simple things like toothbrush and toothpaste, skin and hair care products, nail clippers, nail file, any medicines that you take, any other things that that you're using every single day. I want you to think about those things as you're preparing for your trip. Take a mental inventory or actual physical inventory. What did I use every day that I know I can't live without when I get to my host country? Think about that. Then there's some medicines that I encourage you to take even if you don't normally use them, because these are just travel essentials in my opinion. So Emergency, really helpful for just boosting your immune system. Advil, in case you get a headache or you get sick there, you have some kind of pain relief. Alka-Seltzer, huge Alka-Seltzer. My goodness, it's wonderful because sometimes you're in the plane, you get upset stomach, you just throw some Alka-Seltzer in a cup of water, drink that down, you're good to go. Kale pectate, also for upset stomach. I really like this stuff because my stomach got upset eating something over there. I don't know what it was, but this is wonderful. It's another antacid, but it's like a chewable, which I really liked. So it's good to have both, Alka-Seltzer and kale pectate. Really helps you out a lot. Medicated foot powder. Don't sleep on the foot powder, let me tell you. And I'll talk about that in a second. And then melatonin if you have trouble sleeping. Okay, so why do I say medicated foot powder? Man, you're going to be using the same shoes every day. So think about that. Your shoes are going to start to stink. So get some medicated foot powder, start using it day one, because you're going to be walking around a lot. Your feet are going to be sweating, and your shoes are going to start to smell really bad after a few days, or after like the first week. You're going to notice, oh man, my feet are bad. So get some foot powder, start using it right away. Okay? Even like the ones that's like anti-athlete's foot or the Gold Bond, those are really good because they're really good at killing bacteria, things like that. That's what you want. Okay. So, all these things I listed is really just to help you with your immune system, just boosting your immune system, easing any stomach pain, things like that. Uh, it's important that you think about these things because anything could happen. And you want to make sure that you're able to get rest. You want to make sure that you're feeling well because you got a month ahead of you. This is a marathon. So you want to prepare for any circumstance that if you have a sensitive diet, you have like a gluten-free diet. You want to have your gluten enzymes, things like that. You want to be prepared, okay? Um, and then talking about other travel essentials, let's talk about this. So microfiber towels, really awesome because like where I was staying, they didn't give us a lot. They only gave us one body towel and one face towel. That's it. And then you had to do your own laundry every week, and you had to keep those towels and wash them. So I brought microfiber towels because I get kind of sweaty, so I had to like have something for all the walking and just keeping myself dry. And then that was like a smaller hand face towel, and then I had a bigger body towel, which came in handy because didn't have a lot of laundry, so I didn't want to keep using the same towel for 5 days. And the microfiber towels are very easy for you to rinse off, and they dry very fast. So don't sleep on that tip. Get some microfiber towels. They're easy to pack. They can even double as like a pillow when you're traveling, which is pretty cool. Speaking of that, having a travel pillow, you want that for the road, or for the plane ride, to be able to just sleep. Usually, some of them they'll come with a face mask, so you just want to be able to sleep while if your flight is at night, you definitely want to sleep because you don't want to get there and you're exhausted. You want to be able to like kind of push through. So for me, I arrived. It was like 5 p.m., but it was a long flight, so it was like 13 hours altogether, and I didn't get there until late. So I made sure that I was trying to get sleep because then when you get there, you want to be able to stay up and then just sleep when everybody else is sleeping. So if for whatever reason, let's say you're going to arrive in the evening, then try to stay up. Try to stay up throughout the whole flight. Don't sleep until you get there. That way, if you arrive at night, you can just sleep through it, right? You want to be able to, think about what time are you arriving and can you make sure you sleep on their schedule because that's going to help you because the first couple of days can be a little rough and you're going to have trouble sleeping. But if you kind of follow that strategy where you sleep when everyone else is sleeping, your circadian rhythm will adapt pretty quickly, okay? Next, just having a sweater. It's kind of obvious one. You want to have a sweater. The planes can be cold, so you want to be able to keep yourself warm while you're sleeping. I always wear a hoodie when I'm on the plane because I can just like cover my head and, kind of just enter into my own little zone of warm and comfiness, and that helps me sleep. So think about that. I mentioned the sleep mask already. Earplugs are really good, not just headphones, but earplugs. Headphones are good if you want to plug into, like, have actual auxiliary headphones so that you can plug into their system so you can listen to movies and stuff like that and not have to use their headphones because theirs are really bad. So if you can bring your own, that'll be good. And then earplugs in general are good for when you're flying and you want to just go to sleep. Having earplugs, not using headphones, because there is an issue that I personally have been having with AirPods where something is going on with the pressure because when they're operating, they adjust the pressure in your ear. And I do not recommend sleeping with earpods. I think there's something going on with that. Try to just use regular earplugs, okay? And then lastly on my list here is just having a travel charger. I really didn't need my charger much, but I did use it a couple times, so it's helpful. It's always helpful to have it. And you never know when you're in an emergency situation. I'm also kind of like a nerd, and I have like a fanny pack, but you might have a purse or some other side bag or shoulder bag. Keep your travel charger with the appropriate cord on you at all times, because you never know when you're going to need it. Okay. Um, I talked about this stuff already, so let's talk about clothes. Okay. So I mentioned earlier not to pack too much. So I suggest bringing 4 shirts and 4 bottoms. All right. In terms of like your daily wear where you're going out and your day to day. Okay. That's not your night clothes. That's just your day clothes. Having 4 shirts, 4 bottoms, having them being different colors that they can complement each other. You can alternate them. It's funny because I still ended up wearing like the same 2 pairs of pants. I would alternate them. Um, and then I had shorts also that I wore. So I had 2 pairs of pants that I wore a lot and 2 pairs of shorts that I wore a lot. Okay, those are basically what will get you through an entire month. Because if you think about it, you can wear shorts twice, you can wear pants twice. So, 2 pairs of shorts, you can wear those 4 times each, and the pants you can wear 4 times each. So that's 8 uses out of 4 pairs of four bottoms, right? So if you think about it that way, you're going to be doing laundry, right? So by the time you get to the end of the week where you're doing laundry, you should be fine. Now if the weather's really hot and sweaty, that's a different story. You may need to do a laundry more often, but you still want to pack light because you also may want to save room for souvenirs. So I made sure I packed light so I had plenty of room for all my souvenirs. Okay, and so I mentioned also, these were your daytime clothes. You want to pack some nighttime clothes, or like a shirt that you wear at night, shorts or whatever, whatever your pajamas that you'd like to wear when you sleep. You want to have comfortable clothes for sleep. And then you also, I packed, my house shoes even, so that when I'm resting in my resting place, I'm as comfortable as I am at home, because you still want to kind of make where you are home, right? And so you want to get comfortable where you're at. I packed my computer and some entertainment and stuff like that. Like I like to game, so I brought my gaming stuff with me, so that while I'm at my resting place, I can kind of still have some of my routines and be comfortable where I'm at, right? And then talking about shoes, going back to the shoes, also thinking about like you want to have your walking shoes, which I mentioned you're going to want to have the foot powder for, and then your dress shoes. So if you're going to go someplace really nice, you want to make sure you have nice shoes that you can wear to those locations. So I had like 3 pairs of shoes that I had with me: my house shoes, my dress shoes, and then my walking shoes. Okay. Next, I also think it's important to have packing cubes. Packing cubes are huge because it helped me to stay organized. You're able to then just take the whole cube out and put it in your dresser or your bureau or the closet that they give you, and you can keep your stuff organized that way if you want to. And it helps to like organize your underwear, shirts, socks, all that stuff, and it doesn't become a mess. Especially because if you think about it this way, they may go through your stuff, and you don't want them to make a mess of your stuff. So if you keep everything organized, they're not going to make a mess. And I mentioned here, shop at a Ross or a Burlington, like those discount stores. They have a lot of travel items, including luggage bags, packing cubes, all that stuff. And it's like really reasonably priced, because those places tend to be like for people who are traveling sometimes. For some reason, they just have a lot of that stuff, at least at my local ones. Then again, I live somewhere where there's a lot of tourists, so that could be why. All right. Next tip, just thinking, like I said earlier, remember that you typically will have access to a laundry where you're staying 30 days. So you only need to pack a week's worth of clothes, and then you can rewash them. I know some people are fashion conscious, and they're like, oh, I don't want to wear the same stuff over and over. I mean, you're traveling. You're going to be there. So if you want to buy shirts, that you can leave your old shirts, whatever. It's up to you, but this is just a general tip. If you want to be effective, try to think about packing just for 1 week, because you're going to reuse that stuff for the month. All right. And then, but I would say, honestly, pack a week's worth of underwear, like socks and, your undergarments, because yeah, you want to have 7 days worth of stuff for that. You're not gonna reuse those, okay? So just thought I would make sure I say that, okay? I mentioned sleeping clothes already. When you're packing your clothes, roll up your stuff. That's really important, I think, because when you roll it up, it helps to keep it more contained, and it gets some of the air out of the clothes, because air in your clothes takes up space too. So if you roll them up, you can kind of squeeze some of the air out of them, and they fit better. Also, you can use like gallon Ziploc bags that you can get at the grocery store, and then you can actually like put the stuff in there, and then roll the air out of them, and then zip them up. And that's like kind of your cheap on the go way of like having like vacuum packed. If you're really smart, you can take like a straw, stick it in the bag, and suck the air out of it, and then keep the straw in your luggage. That way you can always like suck the air out of the stuff, and it'll save you a lot of space. It's pretty smart. It's pretty cool. So do that. I always, anytime I travel, whether I'm driving or flying, I pack garbage bags. So, the ones that you have under the sink in your kitchen, those kind of garbage bags, okay? For one, they're durable bags. They're waterproof, for the most part, right? And they can serve many purposes. For me, they can double as a laundry bag, right? So you can just put your stuff in those bags, and it'll keep it safe. You can also wrap certain things in them to keep them from getting wet. Something I didn't anticipate was that TSA was going to leave my luggage out in the rain while they're transferring the stuff into the plane. So it was raining when we landed at JFK, and then we were sitting and waiting for our stuff, and they had our stuff getting ready to be loaded, and it was sitting out in the rain. So when I got to Barcelona, some of my stuff was wet. I didn't see that coming. Thankfully, it wasn't too bad, but I did have to dry stuff off. So think about that. Like maybe if there's things you need to conserve or save, put it in a garbage bag to wrap it, just to keep it from getting wet in the event of that happening, and then you can go from there. Um, and then yeah, that's about it. So if you guys have any questions about traveling and traveling abroad or studying abroad, please let me know. I'll be happy to help you. This is something that is near and dear to my heart. I really am grateful to the Gilman International Scholars for providing this scholarship to me. I'm grateful to my university for allowing me to be a part of this program, and I just really want other people to experience this, because it's out of this world. It's in this world technically, but it's something that you only get one shot at it sometimes, so you want to take advantage of it. Because like I said in another video, I'm an older student, and the fact that I got to do this was such a blessing to my life, because I always wanted to do it when I was younger, and I never did it. So I encourage you to do it, because you never know if you'll ever get the chance again. So I just thank you all for listening, for watching. And if you have any questions, ask me in the comments. And my name is Louie, signing out. Thank you.